Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I thought I would sit down and put on some makeup that you see here, mostly just a chance for me to catch up with you and let you know just what's been going on in life, just a little bit of an update. Things are a little bit crazy, so why don't we go ahead and get into it. Alright, as we get started, I pulled my hair out of my face. I did put some eye cream on. I whipped my face with just a face spray, and now I'm about to put on some primer. I'm going to use my Catrice Prime and Fine Pore Refining Anti-Shine Base. Honestly, I find that this is just kind of like a lotion primer. It's a little thick, so I think maybe it does the faintest pore filling. I don't really think it does much, but maybe some people would say that it does a really faint pore filling, especially if you have really teeny tiny pores and you don't need like large pore filling. I think you could get away with the primer just like that, but I typically would put another pore filling primer on, but since today I'm just like, I'm literally gonna put my glasses back on and go back and do some other things that I need to get done around the house. I'm just gonna wear this as my only primer today. So it's not a big deal. I'm also gonna go in, I'm gonna do my makeup out of like my typical routine. Typically, I normally do my eyeshadow first. I'm not really feeling motivated to wear much eyeshadow today, so I think what I'm gonna do is just put on my base makeup. If I feel like adding some eyeshadow at the end, I'll do that. But I wanted to get some use out of my little corrector here. It's a little dark for me, and I think you'll see that in the clips when I go to use it. This is a peach corrector from LA Girl. And because my inner corners are so dark, I'm gonna go ahead and like use this first. It's so much easier when I'm not doing my eyeshadow first to use this product, because the way I want to use this is like up here into my corners and then underneath my eyes. But typically it's a lot harder to like do a little bit of the inner corner, finish your eyeshadow, then go in and like try not to blend it up. Like I'm a little bit messy of a blender, so I sometimes forget this step when I'm wearing eyeshadow. But yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to see. It's a little bit dark. Like I don't think it does a ton of brightening. Maybe a little bit of color correction, sure, but not a lot of brightening in terms of like a peach corrector. Okay, so I still feel like I look pretty dark in my inner corner, so I'm also gonna go in with my concealer. I'm so close. I actually need to take the like stopper out today because I'm really having trouble getting product on my little wand here. But I'm gonna put this all over here, and maybe a little bit here. But anyways, as I blend this out, make sure in the comment section to go ahead, say hello, let me know how you're doing. I know I filmed my last Get Ready With Me literally probably about 3 weeks ago from this point, so I think this will go up almost a month to the day since I uploaded my last one. And I know in my last video I was saying, yeah, life's pretty boring. This isn't much of a like life update Get Ready With Me. And then today I'm like, holy cow, there's so much that's happened this past month that like I have been so overwhelmed. And honestly, I've been so distracted. I'm so behind on YouTube videos. I'm behind on Partners in Cream videos. I'm normally like gone through the entire list and I've commented on everybody's videos by this point and maybe made it through Instagram. I'm not the best on Instagram, but I am so behind, like really, really bad. In fact, I don't even think I've made it halfway through my normal, like normally I would have it done by now, because literally the next video I need to film to be able to get it uploaded in time is Partners in Cream. And like normally I'm done with Partners in Cream comments like within 2 weeks of the uploads. And this time around, I don't even think I'm halfway done with my list, but let me fill you in on why I'm so behind. Going in with my like contour palette now. So my husband and I, Bo, have been living in our current apartment for the past, we moved here about 2 years ago. And we knew then that this was a short-term contract. 2 years is the most we could do. We've asked a million times about trying to extend the contract, and like the university that we rent through was like, no, it's our policy to only rent to people for 2 years. So that way that when they have new people coming into town, because the housing market here is very competitive and very difficult to navigate, it's so hard to navigate. Like in the US, there are apartment complexes that you can contact. You can contact private people who are renting out apartments or houses and that kind of thing. In Sweden, they don't have apartment complexes. There's not a single apartment complex that just independently owns a building and they rent rooms out. Like it just doesn't work like that. So my husband and I have been trying to figure out what they use a housing queue in this town, or I'm sure in all of Sweden, they have different housing queues. But we've been trying to understand how that works. We signed up for one, and then at the same time we've been looking on, like, they have a website here called Block It, and it's kind of like a nicer version of like a Craigslist, and people can privately list apartments like that they are, maybe they own but they're going out of town or moving somewhere, or they're renting it out. And so you can do private rentals kind of like in the US, but we've been looking online, and we went and toured a couple places. The first place that which has been so stressful, by the way, so stressful. I'm going ahead and using my Professional Benefit Liquid Foundation. This is something in a project pan. Anyways, yes, we went and toured one place that we were like, okay, this place is a little bit far out on like the edge of town. But we didn't know, because we don't know how the queue system here, we keep hearing rumors that like the queue system, like you have to wait in the queue for like a year or more sometimes to get an apartment, and which is terrifying because we're like, well, we need an apartment by the end of summer. We don't have the luxury of waiting a year, and we didn't know to join the queue like a year ago. We're just now figuring out that, oh, we probably should have put our name in a queue a long time ago if we wanted to find an apartment through the queue system. So we found a guy on Block It who was listing his little apartment unfurnished, which so far we haven't really had to buy much furniture. I think we bought like a couple dressers to store some clothes in, but everything else in this apartment is furnished by the university that we rent through. And so we're like, oh great, like this is gonna be, not only was it on the outside of town, it was a little bit, I thought, well, the price wasn't awful, but I thought to myself, for the location and for the size of the apartment, I feel like we might be getting ripped off just a little bit, but at the same time, we didn't really have many options. The couple of people that were like reasonably listed on Block It and like seemed like good deals, we would contact, and they would just kind of ghost us, like they wouldn't say anything or wouldn't respond, and we were like, well, that's weird. So when we got the first tour, we were like, well, maybe we need to take it, because it seems like this is going to be a really hard process to go through. So we bike out there to look at it, and sure enough, we were like, of course, like it's really gross. Like the guy who moved out of it or who was renting it out had not cleaned it. It was disgusting. But in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, okay, that's just some cleaning supplies. Like we can clean it ourselves. It's not a big deal. The price is, you know, acceptable, even though I do think it's overpriced for what it is. And so we told the guy, yeah, hey, we're interested in it. Let's move forward with talking about a contract and like the lease terms. And all of a sudden he called us and he was like, okay, great. And then he was like, I want you, obviously it's empty. I want you to go ahead and sign the lease now. And we're like, well, we have to end our lease here. We can't just like pay triple, double, quadruple rent for several months because we need to get out of our lease early if we are going to take your apartment early. So we're like, you know, can you give us a month? That way we'll only pay double rent like 1 month, and we're going to have to buy furniture. Like, give it, you know, slow down the process a little bit. And he's like, well, it's pretty typical that you pay lots of rent. And we're like, no, I don't think it is. Like, I mean, I know that we may end up paying double rent, but like, don't try to bully us into that, you know? Then the kicker was that he also was like, hey, by the way, I know that you two are married, talking about Bo and myself. He's like, can only one of you register that you live at the apartment? And we were like, what? Like, what? Why can't we both register that we live there? We've been able to register that we live everywhere else that we live in this city so far. And he's like, well, you know, technically my name's on the lease still, and that it's a 2 occupancy apartment. And so if there are 3 people registered living there, we would be breaking like the original lease terms. And then we realized, oh, this guy has gotten his apartment through the housing queue. And he's not allowed to rent it out to us, but he's renting it out to us kind of under the table. And we ended up looking up the apartment and realized, like, holy cow, this guy was gonna make so much money off of us. He was like upping the charge so much, even though he definitely was paying almost half of what he was gonna charge us. He was paying almost half of what that price was. So thankfully, Bo and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, okay, no, thank you. Actually, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at some other places. We just all of a sudden felt really uncomfortable with the place, especially I can't imagine the hassle of me being registered somewhere else in this town. And like, I don't want to deal with all that. I am legit a rule follower and definitely want like just to do things on the up and up. And luckily, not long after that, at first we were like, well, great, there goes the one apartment that's kind of responded to us pretty well. There's been other apartments that have been a little bit in a price range that we didn't want to have to go to, and they're also located a little, like Bo would have to bike almost like 3 or 4 miles to work and then 3 or 4 miles back to home. Like right now he's doing about 2 miles, and we're like, man, that's not ideal, especially in the winters here. Like I'd rather him not have to bike 4 miles, you know, in a day, or 4 miles one way in a day. So we kept finding some maybes that we weren't really excited about. And then finally one guy that we were like, okay, it's close to Bo's work. That's nice. It's a little bit further away from downtown than where we are right now, which I do enjoy kind of being where we're at, because it's nice to, if I get lonely in the daytime or something like that, I can go walk to downtown and just kind of get out and enjoy some. The downtown area is pretty, like has like a nice little river that flows through the town. So I like being close to it, but at the same time, I knew that more than likely we were probably going to end up somewhere a little bit further away. But the apartment that we ended up viewing next the guy was really nice. He was explaining that he owns the apartment. Thank goodness it's not some shady like rental agreement that we're breaking, and he's helping his daughter rent it out because she is working on her master's degree in another town, so she is obviously living somewhere else right now. And people in the apartment currently, they were relocating, so they're looking to fill the rest of the like lease out, which is through the end of this year, which is fine for Bo and I. We're okay with those terms. We're not necessarily looking for another long-term apartment rental, which honestly, Bo is doing some other job searching. At first, he was searching specifically in academia, looking for like professor kind of jobs. But there aren't a lot right now. Corona really changed the job market last year, obviously. And so he's opened up to some other just science industry jobs and kind of starting to look there. So hopefully we won't be here for another, you know, like another 2 years or anything like that. Okay, so I do think I'm gonna throw just a little bit of eyeshadow on, not a lot, and then I'm gonna finish off my face. But first, I think I'm gonna put my little, I love this shade here in the Marvelous Mobs palette to put kind of all over my lid, a little bit of it into my crease, and then I'll deepen it up with the shade that I'm actually supposed to be panning. So yeah, while I'm talking about this, I'm going to kind of topic hop a little bit, sorry. But yeah, did I finish telling you about the apartment? So we went and toured it. The guy was super nice. The apartment's actually bigger than where we're currently living. It's definitely, like I said, a little bit further away from downtown, but it's really close to Bo's work. Like I think he'll have maybe only like not quite a mile, or maybe about a mile bike ride to work, which is nice. Also, it's furnished, which I'm super excited for. As much as I like, sometimes it's uncomfortable living in a furnished apartment because you're living in someone else's space and you feel like, well, especially the first apartment that we lived here in Sweden, the couch was white, all the furniture was white, and I had never lived in an all white apartment before, and it was so uncomfortable. I felt like I couldn't put on makeup comfortably. Like if I wanted to lay down on the couch, what if my makeup smudged onto the couch? Like it was just, I was not used to it. And so this house, at least, even if I'm sleeping in, you know, other people's beds, using other people's furniture, at least like the couch is like a dark blue. I'm like, thank goodness that you don't have a white couch. Why would you have a white couch and rent your like furniture out to other people? I'll never understand that. But it's got a little balcony, and actually we'll start moving in this month. Like literally, I think we've already signed the lease and we're allowed to start moving in like sometime next week. I've done zero packing at this point. The entire process of searching was pretty stressful, and Bo ended up tackling most of it because I was just like, I got to a point where I was like, look, I'm too stressed to help you. I'm so sorry, but like this is kind of your beast to tame. And he did a really good job, and he was very, like, he communicated really well with me, so I didn't feel like I was out of the loop or like, I don't know, he did a really good job. Poor guy has been working his butt off lately with not only work, but applications, job apartment hunting, and then just things have been crazy, just not only personally, but like a couple little family situations here and there that I had a little bit of stress, but mostly they ended well. Like they're fine. It's just been like, it's like, I should have known that I should have been okay last month when I had a completely uneventful get ready with me update. And it feels like this past month has just been like total 180, just crazy, unexpected things 24/7. So we have to start packing this weekend, try to get, I think we have like about a month to move once we're allowed to start moving there. So that'll be nice that we don't have to move like all in one weekend. I think we'll kind of take it easy and just do a slow move. Maybe move some clothes over, then start to move kitchen or toiletry items. And then maybe the last thing that we'll need to move is any little furniture pieces that we have. We do have a couple of other furniture pieces that I completely forget about because I found them in like the dumpster area or things like that. So there will be some things that will be a little bit annoying to move now that I think about it. Okay, let's finish off this face. I think I'm gonna go in pretty heavy with my little Largeller highlight here. I might even take a little bit up onto my eyelids. And even though this eyelid doesn't necessarily match this bright shirt, I mean, it kind of does in that it's cool toned and these are kind of cool toned, but maybe the little guy, the little highlight popped on my like lid. Maybe that will be a little fun, springy something. Yeah, okay, that's not so bad. I really like iridescent pink highlights like this, like duochromy kind of highlights. I love this. But yeah, that should clue you in a little bit on if you think that I've been a little MIA here on YouTube. I kind of have. And also, not only do we have all of this moving stuff going on, and just life has been pretty hectic, crazy, trying to find an apartment, finding a good one, going ahead and signing on the lease and trying to figure out all of that. But also, I'm still doing my online counseling conference. So we have one more month of it at the end of May that will end, but I'm trying to dedicate some time to it here and there, like as much as I can. And so sadly, YouTube has taken a complete back seat, which I really didn't intend at all. But all in all, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And sadly, it's just the way it is right now. That is a very warm, or a little bit warmer of a blush than I think I should have gone with. But maybe I'll take I have another cream blush that I can go over the top of this and maybe it'll tone it down some. All right, yeah, I'm gonna take my ColourPop little lipstick here and I like to kind of just really warm it up on the back of my palm. And then I'll take my little sponge and like pick it up, and that's usually about enough to do like one cheek with, because it's not a super pigmented blush. So hopefully you can see there that not only does it kind of make my cheeks look less powdery, but kind of cools it down in tone just a little bit. But yeah, again, make sure in the comment section to let me know how y'all are doing. I'm okay, a little bit frayed and a little bit like fractured here and there because things have just taken like a hard left and we're trying to figure it out, but it's all good things. It's all good things. I'm excited for the new apartment. I do expect that the next month up until the point, so we're going to start moving mid-May, and then in mid-June, we're headed home to the US for a little vacation time. And I think we have a lot to get done before we can go home. So hopefully I'll be able to keep all my ducks in a row, no promises. And since I can't talk through this process, I'm gonna go ahead and put my mascara on and my lips on. I don't even know what I'm gonna put on yet. I'll surprise you when I come back in a second. All right, I'm back, mascara is done, lips are done. I ended up just going with the Lipstick Queen lipstick and then I topped it off a little bit with Buxom Dolly. I should take this daggum thing out of my hair. But yeah, make sure, again, say hello in the comments, let me know how you're doing. I'm alive. I don't know if I'm my best self, but I'm alive. I hope you enjoyed catching up with me a little bit, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.